Let me tell you something. One thing about me, I'm gonna stay sucker free. So go ahead, motherfucker, and take a look at me. Only thing you're gonna learn is something that's real slick, you see. And I'm trying to tell you, I'm always on the grind. You know what? Behind the grind, there's a shine. So if I'm in the club and you see me with a big cup, it ain't no motherfucking luck and skills. That's what's up. And boy, I'll take, like I said before, understand me how to win. And if you wanna be my motherfucking friend, you got to get in where you fit in. Now guess what? Pimps up, hold down, because if they stay down, then we gonna move around.
The mic outstanding, Blake grip slamming, checks look glamorous, rubber bands outlanding, penthouse post, gang so, Big Mac toe, stock broken, 212 thumping, block bumping, hood star stud, straight thug,
Walk in the spot, cool, calm, and collect. Every city I touch down in, I get respect. What's happening? Any bitch you see me out with, she getting next. Touch the money with both hands, I'm ambidextrous. As long as it's paper here, the ghost man stands. You talking about some shit that I been stopped saying. What you talking about? Iceberg slim vibes, what I'm displaying. You trying to win the game that I been stopped playing. If she round the ghost, you know she work. You chase ass, I want the purse. Boy, your game is so commercial. Walk a bitch, my first name Herschel. I could use my gift to gab to get the cash. I really have. The game is to be sold and never told. I can't split shit in half. Niggas want this type of bag, then grab the bitch and do the math. Or hit the trap or shank your packs and make it back like really mad. You feel me? Southside, the one and only, nigga. You feel me? The shit is in me, not on me, nigga.
What you say? This shit is in me, not on me. Prime time player, it's rice to macaroni. What you say? I work the work, something serious. Grind, nigga, grind. Swagger right, check the jury. Shine, nigga, shine. In the church, got the gem. Dime, got the dime. Flip a 4 to a 10. Time, got the time. Going for the win. Grind, nigga, grind. Swerving in the bend. Shine, nigga, shine.
It's about pimping with me. So about me trying to convince you that I'm pimping, you know, fuck you bitches. Wait till there's motherfucking hoes out there for me to go fuck with you. Then sit up in here and try to talk you into fucking with me, bitch. You know, make me look little. Sit up in here and try to talk your motherfucking bitch ass into, you know, fucking with me. You know, if you can't see it, then, you know, you lose. I'm the motherfucking prize. You know, I'm the prize. You're not the prize. I can have that motherfucker like you. You can't never find another motherfucker like me. If you ain't got that mentality, then you'll always, you know, be thrown off by what some other motherfuckers been done.
I'm banging, Uji Wally, what's happening? Ghetto gospel, I'm in the streets going platinum. Worth a mill, what's happening? Catch me styling the sad. Bags and bitches got my hoe speaking Latin. Giving and gabbing, Jimmy choosing the trunk. Checking the blade with the rice on thumb. Crew block party, bet that shit gon' jump. We make it jump. We run the Jeep and them niggas a buck. Joe in the Ville, AJ in the cut. Big chin get the back and while we turning shit up. Hey, this how we live, not giving a fuck. Fast cash, making money, dancing and such. Flash on, snapping when I step on the scene. Don't stop clapping, ho, they throwing the green. Left hand slapping when I'm checking the trick. A check of what? The Holy Mac, we having church in this bitch. I'm working the bitch, you hurting the bitch. What's happening?
Nigga saving these hoes, nigga, where's your stand?
I'm banking the hoe, you thanking the hoe. What's happening?
And niggas talking pimpin', but they using fucking violence.
I'm working the bitch, you hurting the bitch. What's happening?
Nigga, the streets is done.
I'm banking the hoe, you thanking the hoe. What's happening?
Sick of you niggas.
Hey baby, just do what you told. Walk into that room, shut your mouth, take off your clothes. Bitches taking souls, they just bend and touch their toes. To this shit I've been exposed in these skinny ripped jeans. It's just me and all my woes. I don't save shit unless it's money, I'm on the same shit. Wake up some mornings, it ain't the same bitch. Still stuck in the same clip. Up for 2 days, stuck in the same fit. Moving like Jordan when he had game 6. Bitch called all the lame shit. We just need that paper by the weekend. That little bitch keep tweaking. She be steady falling and might go off the deep end. Eyes get full up, she was reaching. I don't trust it, I don't cuff it. Need some game, bitch, I could teach it. Ooh.
You know what it is, bitch. I'm here to teach, not preach. I need the motherfucking lips on your face and below your waist. Now let's motherfucking make this thing shake. Church.
Back in the days, just get paid for thugging. But now we pimp bitches cause it's game or nothing. The pimp game. Me and these niggas ain't the same, me bluffing. Short pocket, shorty plus his chains be hugging. The showstopper got the eyes on me. I pull up on your block, I bet the trick won't three. The bitch shows me, your bitch OD. You phony pimps need be 6 feet deep.
Got one more for you, and then we just want to, get this party, situated.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Back up in this thing. First off, let me get a shout out to whoever this YouTube beat is. You know what I'm saying? Like bang, no. You dig? This one right here, though, this for the strip joint. You know what I'm saying? Pumping in your trunk. You dig? Well, it's the Big Macadocious. Alright, sippin' Remy on the rocks with a cold cut on. Cuban lane shining hot, swagger on. Hella bitches show me love in the shake joint. You know it. What's up, baby? Do your dance. I might throw some dance. Really, I just came to chill. Get my bro some. Never fucking with the hounds and the hoes. No, they know. DJ play that pimpin' right, so the hoes go. Mr. Right. Flies niggas in the Ville. Valet off real. Pocket full of one. Do your dance, bitch. Do your dance, bitch. Do your dance, bitch. Do your dance, bitch. Alright. Do your dance, bitch. Do your dance, okay, bitch. She shake it like Jello, faux mink yellow. Half Spanish, honey shield, do it for De Niro. The other half blacker, real ass clapper. Sliding down a pole, getting low, it don't matter. This for the ghetto, big booty, bad hoe. Floss your weight, accumulating mad dough. Sexy mommy sitting pretty fancy. In the club, flexing every damn week. Go, shaking ass cheeks. Got plan B, hey, get your face beat. Need it hands free. Cameo shot, bet it tastes like candy. Dang, hit the G spot, catch a play like Randy. What I say? You know what I'm saying? All the way live from the 301. Where real niggas get it done. You know what I'm saying? Fly bitches stomp for fun. You know what I'm saying? All the bitches at Fuegos. Stadium bitches. You know what I'm saying? At the house with it. You know what I'm saying? Keep shaking something for a real nigga, you dig?
Blessings and peace. Start this drink from the beginning. This is actually a drop I did about 2 years ago. It was actually a request given to me by another content creator about why certain type of men can be intimidating to women. It's just really just your style can be intimidating. It's a lot of contributing factors. The chain of your command. I always speak about that. Your character and your command, what you draw out, and it's you can be intimidating in a good way. I remember being in a club underage, getting through there. My my homie Al Sharif, and a couple others, and interacting with women in there, grown women. They're basically saying you got too much game to be somebody, your age, to be this young, whatever like that. And the chick, she almost didn't even want to go on her husband. And, I back then I said, man, you can put the blame on me. I'm the one that tempts you. Yeah, it was a follow red bone. She was sipping on some Chardonnay, and I was, I had my Remy on the rocks. Yeah, it was just enjoying the moment and whatnot. But yeah, that's the life and times, man. Growing up, too fast and too young. But when you got it, you got it. And I was able to stand on the back of giants, guys that were really, notable men, that were, major, was able to really run with them. It's kind of like, I call it like on the job training, because it was like they were lacing me, but they were lacing me on the go. Like we go out of town, saying, and put down a campaign and whatnot, as well as, within the city. But, until you just start seeing, I just basically start taking, making things my own. But, that's a part of you being intimidating, certain women, and really a lot of women, I would say, because they're not really ready for you. Something that they ask for, just because they ask for it doesn't mean they're actually ready for it. That makes any sense. They want a man that can actually take control and take the lead. That's their heart's desires until they actually come across that type of man. That type of man can walk in his power fluidly, as well as have an authoritative position. Now, people confuse authority with power. Authority is based on your position. Power is based on your ability within that position or without that position. Because you look at Scottie Pippen, for example, creates the sports. He can control the game without the basketball being in his hands. How about that? So I'm going to dive a little bit into this. I'm going to start this off. I'm breaking in between, I actually put the link in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button. We can have a discussion about this. I'm sure everyone has their own personal experiences, or if they have questions, I'm open to all that. Let's begin. Blessings and peace, and welcome to the Ice Turner Experience. Something you can't define, but you can only experience with me. This video is upon the request of a good friend of mine, Man Cave Vlogging Channel. It's funny because he had asked me, requested basically do that video, and I actually did that like 20 minutes later. And he was kind of shocked by that. He was like, no, that wasn't 20 minutes. I was like, yeah, it was like 20 minutes. I just had to think about it. You just got to really just think, the things kind of come to you. I was like, oh yeah, certain scenarios. And it was at least, I would say 10 scenarios that I remembered how that came about. And it still happens. It happens a lot. Even if the woman pulls you in, they get nervous. I remember it was a time where it was a young lady that had walked. I was going into Target, and she was coming out, and she had looked at me, was like, you can smile sometimes. I started laughing because I kind of had that habit. I kind of had that resting face. So I turned around. I was like, all right, yeah, I got you. And then I kind of looked through my parentheal. Joan was kind of nice looking. I'm saying body thick. So, little Rican John. So she had the scorpion tattoo on her thigh. That's crazy how I was able to see that through my parentheal. Turn around, start talking to her. It wasn't really too long. Just put my phone out, had her number in there, and we were talking, briefly. But she was just what I noticed that what I should have picked up on early, like when we were talking, like she just kind of had that nervous look in her face, like she was kind of like hiding her mouth and just like, oh my gosh, like blushing too much. It might have been too much for her, just being in the presence of a man, being in the presence of someone that has that type of like that type of pull, that type of charm, And it wasn't so much what I was saying, it was just who I am. You know, it's the aura. So the aura sometimes can be, you know, very intimidating, you know, when you got that glow, right? Let's get into this. I want to run my mouth too
What was
much.
the question to me as to why some women are intimidated by certain types of men?
This flow.
And being that I am a certain type of man, I can give it to you raw and uncut based on the brevity of my experiences. Now, the thing is with women, they can be vocal about, you know, what they would like, what they want. Just like all of us, you know, we want certain things until it actually shows up, and, you know, it can be outright scary. You know, some women.
And what's scary is the fear of the unknown. It's like, what are you going to do with it once you have it? You know, are you going to basically fumble that opportunity, or are you going to seize the moment? You know, it's always that fight or flight, you know, thing that comes into play, you know, when it comes to that, you know, getting what you want, or getting what your heart's desire. You know, it's just shocking how certain things can manifest itself. Like, I can sit there and be thinking about dark-skinned women, or I'll be thinking about light-skinned women, or be thinking about tall women or short women or skinny women or big bone women or whatever like that. And then, you know, voila, it just shows up. The type of women that I'm interested in the moment, my flavor of the day, my flavor of the week, and my flavor of the month, my flavor of the season really just shows up. It's like, oh, initially you kind of get that too. You kind of get that shock, you know? But it's just, you know, it's up to you. What do you do from there? You know, I just go with the flow. A lot of women don't know how to go with the flow. You know, when it comes to dealing with men, they think too much. Until they get in a relationship, then they kind of like turn the thinking cap off. I noticed, just, you know, based on my experience, I'm not saying that, you know, that's all the more, that's, you know, everybody's experience, but I can say that I've noticed that about my experience, you know. It's the only thing I can speak from. Let's go.
They have, you know, they still have some play with it.
Yeah.
Still have some learning to do and some growing to do, just like us all, right? But, you know, for example, they said they want a guy that takes the lead and commands respect until they're in the presence of that particular guy. And what it really is, it's the fear, because they want to change, they want to be better, they want to be more, they want to be assured, they want to be wiser, they want to feel even prettier. But when they get into the presence of a man of a certain caliber and quality and cut, it can be outright intimidating, because a lot of
cases, they're like a deer in the headlight, just like I've said before. You know, it's like a dog chasing after the car until the car stops, and it's like, okay, what do I do now?
Sometimes they're not really ready. Now, we've all been in that particular space where we might have wanted something, but we weren't ready to receive it. So in a lot of cases, they're not ready to receive the kind of man that you are, based on where they're at in life. You know. Then the other thing that they want a man that's mature, that's very clear and direct with his conversation about what he wants, speaks up for himself. You know, that type of man can be outright intimidating as well, because there's a fear factor. Because in a lot of cases, women are used to dealing with guys that they can control within the borders of their worldview.
It's easier to deal with a yes dear type of guy, because, you know, it's just something you can control. You know, women prefer to basically be in control than to basically be handled. You know, they desire to be handled, but they prefer to basically be in control because it's safety. Control is based, you know, on insecurities and fear. You know, you control things by fear and insecurities versus, you know, allowing things to just act natural and be natural and let things flow. You know, I find my place as a man. I never lost it. You know, I find my place in and what I'm doing. I never lost it. You know, I stick to the course. It's something that, you know, I don't know how to operate outside of that because I don't operate outside of that. And that's what basically puts me in a position. So what is going to make women intimidated by certain is going to make women intimidated by certain type of men is by how they take their position, as whereas though they're not moved by their position. Whereas though you're like a palm tree, you're not breaking, you could be flexible, but you're still in the same position. You feel me?
So when they deal with a man that takes them outside of that view and outside of that world, it can be scary because it's the fear of the unknown. It's losing control or losing yourself.
Mhm.
But they said you have to lose your life in order to gain it.
Mhm.
So the woman, in a lot of cases, she's afraid to let go and lose herself into the man. Now they all have the
And believe it or not, a man finds his happiness in his vocation, in his work. His purpose is in his work. A woman finds her purpose in her man. By losing herself in the man, she actually finds herself. She finds her true self, her true femininity in the man's presiding over her, the man that's covering her. Because a man that actually cares about you is going to cover you. You know, that's when you're resting in his belief as his rib.
nature to submit, follow, and assist. But it's that fight because in a lot of cases they've had to be, you know, in a particular space to where they wasn't protected, so they kind of had to exercise some type of masculine energy. So this is what happens when they get into a place and it's like, man, you're talking about now I can be comfortable in being a woman. I can relax. That also scares them because women aren't used to relaxing. Women aren't used to being able to sit still. They're not used to really.
That's a hard thing to do. A lot of guys be thinking that's easy for women. You know, you understand they've been put in situations early on where they were, you know, naivete and a bit gullible when they put themselves in the hands of the wrong type of guy and they end up getting hurt. They end up getting ruined. And then, you know, because of that, it just, you know, it's like a callousness, you know, with that fear and that hurt, that revisited hurt, because you're back in the same position again. And you got to understand, it's like they don't want to relive certain things again. So it's an assurance factor, whereas though you have to be able to create in that process, because if they could be intimidated by you, but still you got to slow walk it and walk them through it. You can't correct them. I said before, you got to basically guide them to the answer. You can't tell them the answer. You got to guide them to the answer, and it's up to them if they basically want to you know, proceed with that. I said peace and blessings, brother. Being grounded and rooted, bro, is super important. Exactly. Women love to dance. Men need to know how to dance in place. Let those emotions flow around you as you continue to grow. Yeah, I'm gonna let that one just breathe. We're gonna keep that. We're gonna keep that up there. We're gonna keep that up there. That was powerful.
Taking, you know, certain instructions, you know. So it's a combo of those things as far as meeting the guy that they actually want and need. Meeting the guy that is, you know, authentic and is natural. It's scary. The guy that's mature, it's scary because it's the pressure and the challenges, the change. That's the reason why.
And that's another thing I actually want to kick with the brother King Miles just basically said, and we're going to segue right back to the message. You know, let's go back to what he says. He says, men need to know how to dance in place. You know, dance in the same place that you're in, be able to move. It's rhythm and flow, right? And let those emotions flow around you as you continue to grow up. You know, you're basically showing them your truer self as you're maturing. And that's another thing. In the interaction with the woman, she's seeing you mature, grow, and working towards something, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to be emotionally available. See, that's what I was talking about in the art of kicking drama. See, when you're a player, it's more so being aloof, acting like you don't care, you know, acting like you're not invested, you know, or if you're just really not invested versus kicking drama, and that you got to invest yourself into that. Because in order to create different emotions, you got to basically find those emotions in you that basically transmute into her. That is what kicking drama is. I'm not gonna say anybody else talking about that, but anybody else ain't really talking about that. I'm talking about that because, yeah.
She
Watch
would
me
be
start talking about it.
intimidated, as well as, you know, taking someone out of their worldview. Now, just think about it for a second. I'm gonna give you an understanding, fellas. Like, say for example, you know, I take you and I put you in, you know, in the middle of somewhere, a third world country, where you're the only minority there, and you know, with no book to learn their language, or no Rosetta Stone or whatever like that. You got to learn it on the fly. That's going to make you feel very uncomfortable. You're not going to like that. You're going to be scared, right? You'll be outright frightened. It's the same when a woman comes in contact with a man that is not like the common dude. Because the common dude is really led by his phallus. He's going to introduce what he has and what he can do for the woman instead of introducing who he is, because he doesn't know who he is, so he can't offer that. That's the other,
introducing who he is and what that does for them without you really even explaining it. That right there is intimidating. Let's go.
When you're a type of man that can introduce who you are, that means you know who you are. In a lot of cases, women don't really know who they are. They're really still trying to figure themselves out. So that right there can be also to piggyback off of the last thing I said, as far as with women not being able to sit still. What I mean by that is that they're in a constant state of worrying or being over concerned. So, you know, when they're presented, you know, to a man that can cast away all those fears, and they're used to being in that pocket, although they're not comfortable in that, but they're kind of, it's a weird way to explain it. They're comfortable in that uncomfortability, in that space, even though it's not necessarily good for them. Now, you also got to think about this as well.
They're comfortable in their illusions. They're comfortable in the discomfort. Although, see, they tell themselves, remember I said before, with fear and faith and everything like that, it's kind of like, you know, it's playing, you know, hypnotist with your own mind. You know, so whereas though they're constantly lying to themselves, right? Men tell lies to get what they want. Women tell lies to escape from the truth. To avoid it.
A lot of times women tend to avoid what is right for them or what is good for them. That's why you see a lot of them, they kind of get into you know, excessive weight gain, you know, drug usage, illicit sex, debt, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
You gotta understand the science.
You know, because it all triggers back to, you know, with sitting still. Do they feel like, you know, they can't sit still, but then they also feel as though they don't deserve it. So it's not necessarily the intimidation factor, it's the self-concept aspect. Is words that he feels though they don't deserve you. So that what they'll do is they'll sabotage the situation. So that's another thing you also have to consider. It also comes from, not being able to sit still. And that comes from the excessive worrying constantly. That's where I think guys don't really understand where the shit test comes from. And they get more offended by the shit test when it happens. Even I get shit tested, and if a dude, that proclaims to be at a certain caliber says he doesn't get shit tested or he shouldn't get shit tested, he's selling you a bill of goods. Because you're going to get shit tested regardless. Excuse my French, but, it's the only way you understand this, right? You're going to be tested all throughout because...
Excuse my French, parlez-vous français and all that good shit. Bonbons.
Of their panic state, their excessive worrying, And even though this is kind of off the topic of what I'm talking about, but this is just a jewel that I'm giving to you, is do not, although they're not comfortable in that, but they're kind of, it's a weird way to explain it. They're comfortable in that uncomfortability, in that space, even though it's not necessarily good for them. Now, you also got to think about this as well. A lot of times women tend to avoid what is right for them or what is good for them. That's why you see a lot of them, they kind of get into, excessive weight gain, drug usage, illicit sex, debt, et cetera, et cetera. Because it all triggers back to, with sitting still. Do they feel like, they can't sit still, but then they also feel as though they don't deserve it. So it's not necessarily the intimidation factor, it's the self-concept aspect. Is words that he feels as though they don't deserve you. So that what they'll do is they'll sabotage the situation.
And you know what? They're right. That's why they sabotage the situation.
Another thing you also have to consider. It also comes from, not being able to sit still. And that comes from the excessive worrying constantly. Anxious. That's where I think guys don't really understand where the shit test comes from. And they get more offended by the shit test when it happens. Even I get shit tested, And if a dude, that proclaims to be at a certain caliber says he doesn't get shit tested or he shouldn't get shit tested, he's selling you a bill of goods. Because you're going to get shit tested regardless. Excuse my French, but, it's the only way you understand this, right? You're going to be tested all throughout because of their panic state.
Because they need to make sure that they can trust you in a state of, not trusting you. Trusting that, you are who you say you are and how you carry yourself. They need to see if there's, make sure that there's no glitches. There's no hiccups. They like the way you flowing, man, but they need to make sure that you are who you are. You are who you say you are. That's why the tests happen. Because a lot of guys out here pump faking, simping. That's what simping is perpetrating the pimping, perpetrating the ism, perpetrating the rhythm, right? That's what it really is. It's not what they're basically saying what simping is, goofball.
Excessive worrying, And even though this is kind of off the topic of what I'm talking about, but this is just a jewel that I'm giving to you, is do not communicate all that is basically going on in your life that is actually wrong, because, women's minds are like a windmill. It's spinning constantly. So you can't really give her all the information or dump certain things on her lap. You got to tell them things in increments. You can't give them everything at once. Would you give your child a bunch of information they can't handle? You give them what they can actually handle. But it takes maturity to basically measure it properly. And it's just season. Certain things you kind of have to hold back to when she's ready. You You have to build her up to that understanding. But anyways, the reason why, women can, the reason why certain women are intimidated by particular men is because of what he commands.
Shalom, brother. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. We're going to go back a little bit further, and we're going to play this again. And, what up, though? Easy. Another
can cast away all those fears.
Brother of the craft.
And they're used to being in that pocket, although they're not comfortable in that, but they're kind of it's a weird way to explain it. They're comfortable in that uncomfortability in that space, even though it's not necessarily good for them. Now, you also got to think about this as well. A lot of times women tend to avoid what is right for them or what is good for them. That's why you see a lot of them, they kind of get into excessive weight gain, drug usage, illicit sex, debt, et cetera, et cetera. Because it all triggers back to, with sitting still. Do they feel like, they can't sit still, but then they also feel as though they don't deserve it. So it's not necessarily the intimidation factor, it's the self-concept aspect, as well as that they feel as though they don't deserve you. So that what they'll do is they'll sabotage the situation. So that's another thing you also have to consider. It also comes from, not being able to sit still. And that comes from the excessive worrying constantly. That's where I think guys don't really understand where the shit test comes from. And they get more offended by the shit test when it happens.
By that.
Even I get shit tested.
Embrace it.
And if a dude, that proclaims to be at a certain caliber says he doesn't get
turn the shit test into chocolate cake. Turn the shit into chocolate cake. Make her eat it. It's delicious. Or at least I don't like desserts. Unless it's pussy.
That's the shit gets shit tested. He's selling you a bill of goods. Because you're going to get shit tested regardless. Excuse my French, but it's the only way you understand this, right? You're going to be tested all throughout because of their panic state, their excessive worrying, And even though this is kind of off the topic of what I'm talking about, but this is just a jewel that I'm giving to you, is do not communicate all that is basically going on in your life that is actually wrong, because, women's minds are like a windmill. It's spinning constantly. So you can't really give her all the information or dump certain things on her lap, not in its just season. Certain things you kind of have to hold back to when she's ready. You have to build her up to that understanding. But anyways, the reason why, women can, the reason why certain women are intimidated by particular men is because of what he commands, not what he demands. A foolish guy is going to try to press himself or press his agenda or press what he wants into a woman instead of impressing the woman. Okay? Because one thing, a woman doesn't really have a defense for is emotional IQ in a man. Because
let's go for that, and let's play this right here. This will basically get you in. This will get you in right here.
And as I've stated before, that all orgasms begin and end with the brain and mind. Pay attention. So you're basically, playing into the heartstrings of our subconscious mind you. And you're provoking a rhythmic muscle that touches the contractions in her reproductive system. And sometimes you're even creating a sensation all throughout her body, just in your conversation. alone. Okay. So this is how the brain releases the endorphins into the bloodstream and giving them this delightful feeling of sexual pleasure. You know, this is when you ignite them. You know, you set them on fire by creating that desire. See, you know, it's me. On average, experience about 4 to 6 genital contractions, right? Now me understanding the limitations of that, I know that women's orgasms are much longer, than mine, just to simplify it. So when she orgasms, or when it increases blood flow to her psyche, as well as her subconscious, it actually eliminates the fear and the anxiety that she feels in her body, while increasing the longevity and alleviating the pain. It also releases the oxytocin, or the brain chemical that makes lovers become more intimate and more connected through the bonding. Some aspects is like shadow sex work. See, the lateral, orbit frontal cortex, right? Or the brain area that controls behavior. This is what leads to the feeling of her letting go. Now, have you ever stroked a woman's mind and body in a way that caused her to just let go of herself, to be lost and found in you at the same time? You're losing the old idea, of herself and memories, taking on, a new feeling, a new emotion that causes her to climax, that creates, the arousal, per se. So you have to understand that, a woman's sexual cycle moves from desire to arousal to orgasm. So the idea is to play into your power dynamics in the bedroom. In the bedroom, in her mind, as well as in, the actual bedroom, by taking complete control of handling her body in the same fashion as you would do her mind. This is what causes the chemical dopamine to surge, within her, to radically erupt, while your testosterone is fueled by that aggression. Now that's the recipe for a mind and body blowing orgasm. That's the hypnotic fantasy that consists of you putting her into a trance of eroticism by you taking complete control over her mind and then describing a wild. This is what they actually know before they know it. This is what they actually feel before they actually know it. This is why they get intimidated. This is the formula right here. I'm giving you the formula. Now I'm breaking it down in a different way. The other one broke it down in a way that, we could see it from the external, but internally, this is how it basically happens. This is what's really taking place, right? This is why, women are actually intimidated by certain men. Actual fantasy or an event, a peculiar one, and, slight detail. And what you're doing is you're playing that idea into her mind. This is what makes it possible for you both to experience literally everything and anything within that moment. You're creating something that lasts forever, long after, you two are apart. Just like that song by Twister, playing into her emotions, or tapping into her water, tapping into her subconscious. When you're all the way in there, to where as though that's all she knows is you. All her understanding is you. All her understanding is what you do. All her understanding is who you are. All her understanding is what you're about. Women want to be ravished mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. They want you to take, complete handle and control. The resistance comes from not really trusting you, because, that's the instinct. Actually not really trusting themselves, not so much trusting you. They don't trust themselves in you. Ooh, bitch. Survival instinct. They know you're not really qualified. See, when you're a man that's actually qualified to do these things, as I'm basically, talking to you, or having this discussion, or really teaching you, showing you the way, you can tell I'm a man of experience. Just in my conversation, you can hear, it echo. You can hear the dexterity, just like, when I touch a woman, she can feel the experience. A simple touch, simple suggestion, a simple, eye gazing, a simple wink, a simple smile. She knows that I got it, She knows that I have what she's looking for. I have what she's looking for, but she never found. And she knows that she won't find it again. So she'll do whatever it takes to keep that feeling, to keep that experience, to keep that moment, to keep that pleasure, to keep that, touch, to keep that life. A life that's more everlasting and abundant, my experience is, or experiencing, the experience with me is more life. Fully impacted by their strength, guidance, and enlightenment, excitement, thrill, adventure, that part. Mitchell, one more. Let's go. Welcome to the Ice Turner Experience. Something you can't define, but you can only experience with me. Now, today I actually decided to add an additional installment to the esoteric seduction. One thing that I believe I left out for now. I want you to see where I'm coming from in 3D. As brevity of my experience, made the connection with these. I want to talk about essential element and being in your element, and being uninhibited in your central presence. See, what I love the most about females, and more importantly, their nature, is that they're all wired emotionally and psychologically to hunt and to work for their mate of choice, seeking their attention. See, it's the man with the most potent invisible presence, not game. Said before, it's the leading part, right? That's the backup. See, she seeks that man with the most potency and the most fluidness in his presence and masculine, not only frame, what frame of mind, spirit, movement, verbal and nonverbal cues, and who can send out the strongest gestures. Now, for example, my energy is the prize. That's why it always gets the strongest choosing signals, either it be knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally or unintentionally, right? Because when you're an established man, tangibly and intangibly speaking, right, you actually regulate the codes and you place yourself as a cut above the rest. Because it all comes down to the caliber and the cut and the expression of the man that you are. Now, what is that? That is a man that is living truthfully authentic as a purist in his pivot and posture with his position. See, that right there, it's sexual magnetism untamed. It just burns strong desires in her soul, and thoughts of lusting you is on her mind. She can't figure out just what to do. And the way you do you just makes her weak in the knees, like SWV. But you're always on reserve and always on resolve, and you're real thorough in your pocket and placement, you know? This is when your veins is on ICE. This is when the polarity of your presence is strongly felt by that woman, and being the man who holds himself true to form in high regard. Now that's just doing you and living it. You should try it sometimes. It's rather enjoyable. And you do this by putting yourself in position to choose, you know, as the benefit and not the option. There's no more complaints. See, we're all opportunists, one way or another. You know, women are always seeking for an opportunity to be rescued from their life. I don't care what they say. In either way, it has to be kept as my way, if I can just keep it frank with you. You know? Now I'm gonna tap a little bit further into the mechanism of this thing by posing you this beginning question. Now, did you know that your energy and your presence speaks louder than words? Well, to a woman, it does, at least, because they're intuitive and emotional, and they feel on the vibrations because they are receivers. You are the giver of life, the giver of light, and etc. and etc. See, this is where the good vibes only mantra derives from, right? You know? See, a woman is not necessarily caught up in your words, per se, because it's 93% gesture, 7% words. Duh. So the more you're inclined to understand that, you can actually master your energy, because it's your energy behind your presence that counts. They'll either be, you know, into you or repulsed by you. Keep that in mind, right? Now, what I'm going to do is reintroduce you to good vibes by introducing you to vibrational sound and vibrational waves. So in other words, you get exactly what your vibration commands in your conversation. For most men, it's a privilege. As for men such as myself, it's our divine right to have it no other way but the way that we intended it to be in the first place. See, a woman can actually feel the texture and the words as if it was braille behind what you're saying. Now, that's also why some don't trust your words, because they aren't sound enough to come across as an action. Yeah. Because your energy is an action, and you probably didn't even know that either, did you? Yeah. See, women often tell me that they love the way that I do me. And the funny thing about that is usually our first encounter. Yeah, there's levels to this game, and I've learned to respect it in all forms, you know? Because there's levels into that woman's compliance. And ICE is always deep in that, psyche aspect, right? Let's see. Let's break it down. Some of the benefits, you can actually have to possess that. I can express some of my attributes. For one, I'm bold. And for, the most part, I'm pretty modest. And I'm very clear and concise in what I want and what I don't want. Now that's strength, power, and honesty right there. Follow me? See, I am as I am and who I am. And that defines gravity right there. Gravity in my conversation. Now, with other guys, it's a bit hollow. And women can actually feel the difference. As I said before, they will either be drawn into you or repelled by you. So it really doesn't make a difference on what you say. You just got to get that part sport. Now let's break down the science of sub-zero charisma. That is the magnetic force in the field that we live in nature, perpendicular to the velocity and the magnitude as a light being. And before I said I don't run on gas, I run on light. So my likeness is appearing as my own is as bright as a 1 trillion-watt light bulb. And on top of having that cold mouthpiece that derives from my cold mental piece, right? My motif. She has no choice but to stop and freeze. Now back to that vibe thing that I was talking about, or back to my stipulation in layman's terms. In all actuality, I don't think I ever heard the game be explained the way that I've explained it. You agree? Of course you do. I guess this is what establishes my repertoire in your mind and puts me in a different rank all by itself. Now, I pose this to you. Do you own your own energy?
Makes you
Do you own yourself? Because it's just like, clothing or cloth talk. Until you own your clothes, you clown yourself. Now, that's a different type of cloth that I'm speaking of, A lot of you clown your own garments. And exactly what it is. You have to own yourself and master your energy because that determines your wave and vibration. This will actually alleviate the whole necessity to purchase books on how to talk to a woman that is designed to assist you and give you pleasure. This is why you have to listen to me teach you this over and over again. This isn't something that you can just, put aside. This is something you really got to bump again because this is something that's more internal. This is universal law. And the better that you understand it, you'll understand it. And the better that you understand it, you'll overstand it. And the better that you overstand it, you'll stand out from the rest. Well, blessings and peace to you. And talk to me in the comments section.
Right, talk to me in the comments section. Also share this with your friends and have a discussion. You know what I'm saying? This is the way you learn. You basically break it down apart, and this is how you basically get it. And then you go out there and you put things in motion. You come back to me and give me your testimony. This is the reason why women are intimidated by certain type of men. because this is how certain type of men actually carry it based on the two messages that were given to you on top of the other message. You know, listen to this live stream, soak it up, you know, write down notes, you know what I'm saying? Talk to your friends, share the video, share it. Build a community around it. Build a culture around it. Build a club around it. Build an environment around it. I don't really care. You know, it's up to you. How bad do you want it? Do you want to be the one? Or you just want to look at the one? Do you want McDonald's? Or do you want Del Frisco's? Do you want Burger King? Or do you want Steak 48? You want to be in a Hyundai? Or you want to be in a Cullinan? Do you want to be the man, or do you basically want to hold the man's nuts, waiting for your turn? It's up to you. Until next time, you know, stay blessed.